don't know how it records the video. All right, so I want to just recap today's trading. There's a lot of back and forth. There's some good examples of the near-term edges that we like to do, how we set up beforehand, how it played out before into the initial move, and then how we traded the secondary and kind of secondary and third moves after that. So this was across global macro. Pretty good day. I think I did almost 5 in just one account. Yeah, almost 5. So here's what we did, and then I'll wrap it up with what I think big picture, the big takeaways are today. Not so much what the Fed says, because they talked out of both sides of their mouth as usual, but just expectations, market expectations, and then more importantly, you know, central bankers and politicians like to lie, right? So the market price doesn't lie, and so we'll just take a look at what actually, how things close. So I like to start with the dollar. Now we came in, this is the dollar index. This is an important move here above 98. Let me just do the euro. So the opposite of that, the euro. Oh, you guys might not be able to see. Got this in the way. Let me shrink this down. So, is that too small? I never know if you guys want to. Okay. So I don't have signals on the cash side in this account because I just trade the futures. But on the Wanda account, I'm short euros versus the pound, which didn't do a whole lot. We're still core short there. So it came off today, and some of you guys sold a little bit higher than me overnight. You got some back. Short sterling. I'm gonna keep this. I think this goes lower into tomorrow, just based on what the euro is doing. So into London, I think you want to stay core short sterling. But as far as like the direction of the euro and the dollar here, we clearly broke today. So daily closes matter, weekly closes matter. All right, this 111 is really what we've been eyeing. So it's better to use the cash spot chart. So look at these lows, right? These are the major lows that finally gave way. Last week we bottoming tailed off it. You couldn't get above the 8. You couldn't regain this pivot low at 112. All right, and then clearly you broke today, and then a weekly close is going to signal the big picture move might be on here to. There's a little bit of a gap right here, but there's really not a whole lot of support. I mean, this is all garbage. There's no pivot lows here. There's no highs. I mean, this was a high right here. I don't know if you can see that, followed by a couple lows, and there's that little bit of a gap right there. So I don't have any support to 108, and then this is a whole zone though. It's 104 to 108 is the major area. You can get really specific and say 108, and this low right here. 105.68. You might as well just use the figure at 106, right? 105, 104. But that's the point is, it looks like that's where the next big move is, all right? So that's been consistent with our euro core short call. We've had that in place since March of last year. And so we're still dollar bulls, which was a little bit of an issue with gold today. Obviously, the gold didn't like rates. Rates up. Rates weren't up on the long end. The rates were down on the long end as the curve flattened. So what does that mean? To me, it means the bond bulls out the curve are worried about growth, and they don't see any inflation, which is kind of what Powell said at the beginning of his meeting, his whatever, his presser. But this is 2s, 30s. You can see how much that flattened today. And then when you look at Let me just look at the long end. That was the thought we could buy 30s on the dip. It's tough to trade everything when the market's so fast. But look how strong this long end of the curve, 30 years, made a new high, broke out above all these highs. But reflecting on what we could have done differently, there was a dip right here into pi, pi in the 200. This would have been an awesome trade. Even if you bought 155, I mean, you made a full point almost by the end of the day. And ultras went even higher. Ultras kind of had that wiggle down here. And boom, 1.5, 2 points on the day. So the long end, to me, curve flattening, not good. That's telling the growth picture. So I'm still long twos. Didn't really do much today there. Just kind of holding the core long. Fives, I did re-short some fives. I only had a couple that I was short, so I didn't take any off, but that would have been a good spot to cover. So I did put a little bit more twos or fives back out short. But this is against my 10-year long. And I did have some calls on 30s that worked well today. It was 30s that was up nicely. Semiconductor short position. What else did good today? Short Russell worked out pretty well, and then the VIX late today. So 10s, we traded that pretty well. So we came in initially. What time was that pullback? 2 o'clock. Okay, so right on the initial rate cut, market sold off. I bought 10s at 14 plus, sold out at 19. Rebought 13 plus, rebought 8 plus, and then we had a nice rally late in the day, so came out of a little bit more of that. Core long, have calls, have futures. I think treasuries are going higher. Still, I mean, the market didn't do anything wrong. We held pi on the 4-hour. The long end already broke above these pivot highs. 10s will probably do the same thing, followed by, I think eventually 2s and 5s are going to catch up to the same, I think everything, the trend is still in place as far as growth slowing, inflation. The Fed's trying to play like they're not concerned, if you ask me. So treasuries can go higher. Now gold, kind of a tricky day, but it's really more about, today was about buy the rumor, sell the news. So we were buying the idea that the Fed is going to get more dovish and maybe cut back here at 416. Then you had the futures roll, which was about 10-point roll. But then we were saying sell yesterday. Yeah, yesterday we sold 43s. Came in this morning, you got a pullback, and then you got a secondary chance to lighten up. So I think I bought calls here. I don't know, but that bounce was an opportunity to lighten up a little bit. Oh, no, I'm sorry. I added first down here, 29s. That's right. So we, on the same thing on treasuries, we bought 10s when we got knocked down on the cut. Gold sold off. We bought 29.5, sold 36.90. That was a nice little trade. I bought again here at 31. Had an offer up at 36. The market sold off first, and I did buy. I covered some calls, covered calls, and came out of a couple puts. So I ended up getting longer down here for this bounce, and then just didn't quite get 36s. I forgot why I was offering 36. I think it was a level on like the 15-minute. Market failed and then kind of petered out. So I'm still offering one. I moved that down to 34. I guess I'll leave that in overnight. But there was some good back and forth there, just like we did in treasuries, and then S&Ps and the Russell. This is a long recap. Voice is already strained. Initial break, bought 404. I bought more at 84. Then the market got crushed all the way down to 58. And I bought calls over down here, right here at 60. Calls that don't show up on the signals. But bought those calls. The market bounce came out of that. Lightened up on the futures here at 92, 97. That was a really nice sale. And I'm not really in a hurry, guys, to put too much long exposure on S&Ps. So we were talking about this move down, and then you bounce back up and use our wall concept, and the underside of 3,000 is why we sold here, because we didn't think we'd be able to regain that, and that was the right call. The only other thing we kind of missed on today was I had some VIX calls, and that first time up just was distracted doing other things, but it would have been nice to come out of some calls. And then right here, when we were selling out of our long, to be buying these calls back down here. Now you'd be up again on those. But I'm still been carrying a core long on the VIX since we were buying back here with a 12 handle. So that really helped today. It just helps pad any longs you have in S&Ps. And granted, these have been small longs because we've been very cautious being long equities up here. And then we're largely just trading around and continue to trade around the Russell versus our S&P long. And so how I traded that was was it before the Fed? I think it was before the Fed. I said this 1600 level is a pretty good spot in a reshort. And that's just based on the higher time frames. This has been the range up here, 1600. The market hasn't really been able to get above there. Small cap, pretty indicative of growth slowing. Small caps do terrible. So came in a little bit short there. Covered really well. Go to the 1 minute chart. It's a little easier to see. Covered really well. Oh, first, yeah, I mean, this was a pretty good drop. I wish I was short more. If we'd been short more, we could have covered some more Russell into these lows. I think I had maybe a couple puts on that I sold out of. And then reshorting the bounce and then covering late in the day. I'm still core short the Russell too. So I want to be a better seller of equities, meaning I want to stay more aggressively short and larger short the Russell than I am when I buy the S&P. So that's the pairs trade we're playing. But I'm going to lean more aggressive short the Russell because I think where we failed, I think S&P is being below 3,000. There's room for more follow through on equities. All right, so better seller there. It's kind of all the same stuff we've liked. I think S&Ps have room to. There's some people talking about holding this low. But, I mean, that's an awful day. Couldn't regain 3,000. I mean, if you're buying here because it's the 200, I think you're kind of going against the power right now. We've kind of broken this pattern of higher lows. I think you're going to get S&Ps back to 29 and a quarter, maybe even the bands here. And who knows? The first rate cut, market rallies, and maybe that was the high. Maybe a year from now, that's the high. Certainly, that would make sense with the cycle. That's what history says. First couple hikes, market rallies, and then that's it. So there's still a risk of that. I don't think you got to make that call big picture like we're in a bear market till we get back below the May lows. But intermediate term, you're below the 8. The VIX took out this pivot high at 14.5, 15. 15 is usually pretty solid benchmark for volatility, and usually the machines are less willing to take risk being above 15. So I think this VIX has room to go higher. I'm going to stay long my VIX. We'll see if we get that 29 and a quarter in S&Ps. I think that pretty much sums it up. Nick, are you still out there? Did I miss anything? Oil largely just kind of sat on the sidelines today, but it was down. So you have dollar up, oil down, treasuries up on the long end, curve flattened. It's pretty typical growth slowing and no inflation. So that's a very nasty setup. It's a risk-off setup. I want to be long dollars and treasuries. So from here, I'll be a buyer of 30s on a dip, buyer of 10s on a dip, still like that. As far as what constitutes a dip, I'll be looking something back here, maybe overnight. Probably won't even get that deep. So 155.5. 10s still there. Right. Now 10s we lightened up, so I'll be, I don't know, I'll probably get involved 5 ticks lower. I'd like to get even deeper. I just don't think that's going to happen. And then the only thing that's kind of dragging on the portfolio today was this gold trade, but we trying to trade it in and out of it pretty well. But directionally, it's still in an uptrend. I don't think you're going to be able to get this too low. So here's your series of higher lows. 1411, 1410 is kind of the pivot. 200's right in here at 1408. Lots of guys have a 4 hour 200. So I'm not going to worry about playing defense unless we crack. But then again, 1400 was a pivot for a while. The market got as low as 1390. Pi is going to come right up in here to 1392. I'm not really worried about playing defense on I guess the way to play it is if you start to break this pivot right here at 1410, depending on what the dollar is doing, you want to keep adding to shorts on the euro and the dollar now. So when we so the game plan there, we made some nice core short. Every time we got down here, though, we taken profits. And then I kept telling you guys in the team that cover into the low. It doesn't mean you have to get all flat, but take some profits. Then when it breaks, we just get short again. So today I put back on the future short. I bought more put spreads. But every rally now, you just want to keep selling rallies on the euro. Just keep selling rallies. And so depending on how momentous this dollar rally gets, that may put some pressure on gold. But they're probably going to trade. You can have the dollar go up and gold go up like it's been doing, big picture. But they'll probably rotate around each other on the way up. So like today was down gold, but really strong day for the dollar. Any type of bounce on the euro, you're going to see gold bounce, right? So today, just keep adding and reducing and trading it around, like adding, getting longer down here, then we'll come out of some gold about halfway up the move from today. That's probably gives you an opportunity to short more euros. All right, so 1410's the pivot there where we may have to play a little bit of defense, but we should be making good money on short the euro if we get that low. So that's why this is a good pairs trade, long dollars and long gold. Days you have strong dollar, you get paid. And days when rates go up and you're long treasuries, it's usually strong dollar. So we kind of rotate around those three. All right, I think that pretty much sums it up. Nick, I guess I'll see you in the morning. Any of you guys are still lingering around. For those of you in YouTube land later, Jenkins RM. Click right here, and this gives you trial access into our live room. It'll get you right in. You could be in the morning. We're there usually at 8 a.m. Eastern. Today we traded, obviously, for several hours around the Fed. But that's the best way to get involved with us, and in the chat room also. It's free to come in there. And then trading services and products, that's always there. All right, Nick, welcome, brother. You guys on the team, good stuff today. Pretty pretty good trading. Get some rest. We'll be back in the morning.